Okay, I want to say something about how God perfects your immune system. Because essentially, what inner vision is about is finding God inside you and interacting with God. Well, inside you, outside you, wherever. And by exercising your inner vision and interacting with God, you discover by asking a lot of embarrassing questions that make you really uncomfortable to ask and hearing the answers, some of which shock or terrify you, um, that I'll tell you a story. There was a woman who we used to do these calls with people that we recorded and we put them in the web college. So people could actually hear how somebody cures something. It's called the Cure Show. They're still there. There's like a couple hundred of them. And so a group of us would meet with somebody and focus on that person, and they would test things and, get answers and cure things during the call. So you can actually hear what it sounds like for somebody to cure something. So we never used this woman's call, though. So it's not there. But there was a point where I remember it was me. I asked her to test, do I have cancer in any of my bodies? And she wouldn't do the test. She wouldn't ask the question because she was terrified of hearing the answer. Now, had she asked the question, of course, the next question was going to be, okay, can I cure that? Which she would get its signal on, meaning she could. And then the next action that she did with God's help by interacting with God, using her inner vision to do that, which she was doing. I mean, she was actually getting signals. She was there, she was going to be okay. Except she wouldn't take the next step. And, nobody was pushing her. I don't want to push anybody. I just let them die. And I have no idea if she died or what happened to her. So, I'm not saying that. But I didn't even know if she had cancer in any of her bodies. But she was just afraid to ask the question. And I'll give you a tip. The more of these questions that God answers for you, the less scary it becomes to ask them. However, some of them are real doozies. There was a woman who had been a former student in my self-help courses. Now, even if you've done my self-help courses and you know me from the early 80s and so on, you probably never knew this woman. She didn't do very many of them. She lived in Philadelphia. A lot of you didn't know anybody who was in Philadelphia, or you knew a few people, but not many. And anyway, she wasn't, so you might not remember her. I don't remember her. I don't remember her name. But what I do remember was that her boyfriend sold KM, I was interested in buying KM, which was a very nice supplement that I didn't realize I could get the benefits of by just taking magnesium and potassium, which I now take in pill form, and I don't need KM anymore. But but still it tasted good, and it was, it was a good herbal blend, and definitely a very nice thing. And so I bought a case from this guy. It was a long time ago. My connection for it ran out, and I had to find somebody else. And it turned out that he was the boyfriend of, and this was right when I first discovered Immunix. It was like right on the cusp of when I first discovered that people could cure things and that they could, self-immunize themselves. And so, she was interested, and I started, having chats with, it was just over the phone. We never recorded it, but I just started having chats with her. I was experimenting at the time. I was giving people questions to ask. And she had an issue with her mother. Her mother was abusive towards her. She was very traumatized in the relationship. And so I asked her, there was one point where this idea just popped into my head, that sometimes when a cat is killing a mouse and the mouse is running around, it will run back to the cat. And so I asked her to test if she had had past lives with her mother and kept coming back to her mother. And that was the end. She never talked to me again.
Good morning.
Hey. So I have watched so many people who were able to help themselves simply choose not to do so, that you'd think that it'd really have a bad effect on me, because I've been exposed to real tragedy. I mean, it's a lot of the people that I saw, they went on limping along with these terrible issues that they could cure, and they were choosing not to cure them. So, and the reason people do that, it's always the same thing. Their immune system just isn't strong enough. It has to be built up. And so you might say that if I wanted to be a practitioner of, healing and teaching people how to cure things, that I would have to help them slowly build their immune system up and, teach them very carefully that they're going to really have to take it slow and build up their immune system, because there's a lot of stuff they can't handle, and that's just not the way I like to do things. And anyway, I have another job. I'm a stock trader, so I don't have to build up a practice as a thank God, as a healer, which is a healer I'm not, See, I am not a healer or a teacher or any of the things people might think that I am or want to be, or even a minister or whatever, much as I do like ministering to people, but I'm not an official minister, even though I have founded a church. And what I am, essentially, as far as, our church goes, is a founder. And I'm not really good at anything that is entailed in, in doing and maintaining it. It's just, so you can't really come to me even to be trained to be a minister, because I'm just not, I'm not that kind of person, not that kind of bird. I can hand it to you and you can train yourself if you want to. Personally, I wouldn't want to be coaching people who needed to go slow, and and which is pretty much everybody. So it's just not my thing, and I don't relate well to people generally. It does not play well with others. That's my profile. I have to be honest about it. So, if you're really gung-ho and ready to be, in the school of hard knocks, I'm your man. But otherwise, um, uh, so people, the problem people have is that, okay, here you have a virus, let's say, and the virus is something that is it's an objective reality. It's in the real world, like a table or a chair or your arm or your eye, and it's doing something. And if you don't want to get that done to yourself, you have to kill the virus. And it's very easy to do. Yet, you also have an immune system. And the immune system, let's say you have an emotional immune system. And in your immune system, there's something in your emotional immune system. There's something that just interferes with you killing a virus. Like you don't like the word killing, for example. That'll do it. You're dead right there. The virus wins because you don't like to kill anything. So, hey, eat me. It's okay. I welcome you. Some people try saying, like, you've taught me everything you have to teach me now. You can go, and the virus doesn't go. But the virus says to the virus next to him, this woman is nuts. And the other virus says, no, she isn't nuts, she's spiritual. So anything can be an immune dysfunction. For example, I'm a stock trader. That's what I do for a living. And one thing that defeats stock traders is hope, which springs eternal in the human breast and causes stock traders to lose money. For example, let's say I'm in a trade and it goes in my direction and I'm ahead and I think, God, I hope it keeps going. And it gets to the point where it really looks like it's going to keep going, like it surges up, and I know to sell there, okay? Sell on the upswing when it's roaring ahead. I know to do that, but there are just so many people who get in there. And I have the same tendency. Hope springs eternal in the human breast. And when I see something go up and up and up and up and up and up, and I say, okay, that's it, I'm getting in. I don't, but I know, I feel that in myself. And so that is an example of an immune dysfunction. Hope, great example. Another one is pursuit syndrome. You are chasing something in life that you believe will make you wonderful or your life wonderful or something else. Another one is identifying yourself with something. Another one are biases are immune dysfunctions. I mean, in this category of immune dysfunctions, the way we talk about immune dysfunctions, these are things that cause your immune system to be dysfunctional. That's what they are. That's what immune dysfunctions are. But they're things that you choose, you adopt. Like, another example is protectiveness. Protectiveness of yourself, protectiveness of somebody else. If you're protecting something or somebody or you, you are compromising your immune system. And the reason that people adopt immune dysfunctions to begin with is that they don't have a working immune system in that particular, area. There's something wrong with it. So what they do is they adopt something that is supposed to immunize them. That's the intention of adopting it. For example, have you ever heard an alcoholic say, "I need a drink"? A lot of times they also say, "I want a drink," and other things, so I understand, but sometimes you'll hear them say, "I need a drink." Now, why would an alcoholic say they need a drink? It's the last thing in the world they need, right? Alcoholism is an immune dysfunction. And what they're actually saying when they say they need a drink is that there is something that their immune system isn't handling right now. Some feeling or some other thing. For example, there are a lot of physical symptoms from alcohol withdrawal. And those physical symptoms can be cured by choosing, let's say, the right supplement or food or something else. Or, like somebody, when I used to drink a lot of beer in this Japanese restaurant, and the owner would say to me, drink tea. The tea will take the effect of the beer away. So I used to drink the tea and drink the beer and drink the tea and drink the beer, drink the tea and drink the beer. And, it really, the tea helps. And so, but see, this particular person doesn't know to do that. He or she doesn't know what to eat or what to drink or whatever, or just to go to sleep and then get up and do some good exercise and so on. So what they feel like they need to do is have another drink, which will then hopefully alleviate some of their symptoms that they're feeling that they don't seem to have any other way of handling. And so that is exactly what any immune dysfunction is like that. And that's what cancer is. Cancer is an immune dysfunction. It's actually not a disease. There is no agent, although there are these three physical things that are said to cause cancer. I bet you know what they are. But just in case you don't, or you forgot one of them, they are toxins, radiation, and irritation. I think the other one, I think I forgot one of them, but I think the other one is an irritant, continuing in the same spot. But actually, I'll tell you a story about cancer. There's a woman who I was talking to, who I helped cure her cancer, and she did cure it. I don't know whatever happened. See, I've lost touch with just about everybody. So I don't know whatever ended up happening to her, but at the time I think she cured it, and got a, what they call it going into remission. Anyway, she told me that when she was young, she hit her breast on a drawer that was open by accident. She didn't realize the drawer was open. And she said the minute she hit her breast there, she knew she was going to get cancer. And that was where the cancer was, like 30 or 40 years later. So, great example of somebody who went into a trauma and never came out of it. Which is what trauma is, by the way. When we talk about trauma, obviously there are trauma wards in hospitals where they sew your arm back on. And so we're not talking about a physical, which you have to take care of that, with the doctor, but we're talking about the kind of trauma that psychoanalysts deal with. And trauma is an immune dysfunction that is, a lot of immune dysfunctions are based on trauma. And so what happens is there's an incident which may or may not be actually destructive in and of itself. Like lots of people hit themselves on drawers and they don't get cancer because it's not intrinsically something that causes that. It's a way the person responded to it. She caused her own cancer. Everybody does. And cancer's not hard to cure, but very hard for most of the people I've talked to. So, because their immune system is an absolute wreck. And it would take years of doing this and only this. And they may not have years at the point where, they are with their cancer when I talk to them. Most of them didn't. Of course, most of them didn't need years. And a lot of them did cure their cancer. That was one of my first big cures, was cancer. A woman named Edith Huber. I talk about it in the introductory movie to the Webb College. She was wonderful. She was one of my students long ago, back in this was the early 90s when I knew her. God. Some of the people that I've worked with were gems. They really have been wonderful, and I treasure them. If you're one of them, I want you to know I treasure you. I treasure all of you, because you have continued to make this real for me over so many years, this inner vision, and the connection with God that we all have. And even though we don't talk to each other and are in far-flung places in the world, we really are a community of individuals, though. It's not your usual community. There's no groupthink. Everybody has their own relationship with God.